as news always goes, something is always happening, especially in America. We've covered shootings left, right, middle, center, all the time. And so another shooting happened. And this time, the shooting caused a lot of commotion around the world. So conservative activist and co-founder of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, was shot and killed during an outdoor speaking event at Utah Valley University on Wednesday. Kirk was discussing the number of mass shooters in America, and his last words were something along the lines of, quote, "Are we counting gangs or not?" Okay. And as he was saying this, a bullet rang out and hit his neck. The graphic online footage shows the gush of blood that immediately followed. They took a man into custody, but he was later released. So police are still right now actively searching for the shooter. Kirk was 31 years old and he left behind a wife and 2 children. Now, there was 2 sides to this, right? There were the side of people that were outraged, a shooting, like how could this happen? And there was another side that was very much like, oh, on to the next, right? And so if you don't know who Charlie Kirk is, as I mentioned, he is an conservative, right? He is a man that was very much pro-guns. He didn't believe in DEI. He would bash Black women often, right? Not only Black women, but just minorities. He would bash them. And so now that these same people were not over here crying because of this man's death, people were shocked, right? But before I continue, I want to give you a little glimpse of the video of the shooting incident. I want to say what was the word? I want to preface it by saying that it is very graphic. Okay, so if you can't stomach that, please hit pause or skip. Right, I'm gonna show you the video first.
Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
So that was him counting or not counting gang violence. And this is as someone is asking him about mass shooting in America. And Kirk is known for his very far right thinking, and he would go from school to school to debate people, right? He was like a young conservative type of activist, okay? And now here's the video of all the crazy things, or for some, they don't find it crazy. They just say, I'm conservative and this is how I feel. Because a lot of the far right people are like, it's freedom of speech, right? But then others are like, okay, well, how come we don't have the freedom to feel how we feel? You only the far right reserves the right to have freedom of speech. But let us hear.
It's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
Deep down, a lot of women want to get married and have children. In fact, we should applaud it and we should support it. And we should say it means nothing if you're going to go be a CEO of some shoe company or be some banker in London. What matters if you raise children and you have something to pass down long after you're gone.
Well, KBJ, Ketanji Brown Jackson, is what your country looks like on critical race theory. KBJ is your country on CRT. KBJ, Ketanji Brown Jackson, is an embodiment of the tyranny that we currently live under. She's an ideological, unintelligent, yet confident fanatic who is so dismissive that you might even ask the question of what a woman is.
Do you disagree with the idea of a federal registry like that?
Oh, without a doubt. The only reason you'd want to register the guns is if you want to confiscate them.
Or to make sure that people like officers of the law are protected and know what they're going into. I mean,
that's a good argument.
Right.
To your credit. I will try to make a better argument where the problem of the government knowing where every gun is would then lead itself towards mass confiscation. And I would agree with you, a well-armed citizenry is the greatest protectorate of liberty and freedom in this country. He's saying I err on the side that more government regulation around guns means that they'll try to take good people's guns away, which then results in less global, or let's just say national, freedom and liberty. But instead, I think you can agree that when we build a society like college admissions or job applications, we should say no quotas and just merit. You agree?
I agree.
Then you're against DEI, because DEI says quotas.
Yeah, let me finish. I agree to a certain extent. So when you mention about discriminating against whites, of course, I don't agree with that.
Well, that is DEI, just so we're clear.
Right, and I'm going to say it again.
Cool. All right.
DEI was created to offset racism. We left it up to majority of white America to include people of color or qualifying credentials. They would not. So my argument is that you're saying it's reverse racism. My argument is that it needed to be there to counteract racism. Sounds like we need to find a different solution for both parties.
I have a great solution. Stop talking about race all the time. Race doesn't mean anything. Because I look at you not as a black guy, but as a human being made in the image of God, and I want to know what you bring to the table. Are you good at the job? Are you better than your competitor? Because let me just pause for a second. I just want you to hear out what we believe. Is that when you talk about race all the time, you start to resegregate society based on tribes, and you lose this idea of e pluribus unum, all made in the image of God, out of many one.
So first of all, I want to start off by saying that I will never celebrate anyone's death. I will not. That's just how I feel. I'm not over here clapping like, oh, this person passed away, regardless of if I do not agree with anything that he has to say. But me personally, I'm not celebrating anyone's death. But what I will say is that you reap what you sow. You said, and by you, I mean Kirk, he said that in order to keep the Second Amendment, which he praised and cherished so hard, people have to die. A few people have to volunteer as tribute every year because I stand by the Second Amendment. And in 2025, he was one of those tributes. Whether you like it or not, if you say that you are so pro-guns, and in this debate, people would say, like, you don't think we need a registry. You don't think we need stricter gun laws. You stood on the fact that no, more guns means that we are safer and that humans can protect themselves. Boom, 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 boom. And unfortunately, look what happened. You reap what you sow. Another point, right? I know some people feel a type of way that, especially like people of color, are not feeling bad. They're not over here crying and like, oh, rest in peace and this and that. I am not policing how people react to his death, because the reality is that when he was on this earth, just because someone passed away, no matter how unfortunate the death was, it doesn't eliminate all the racist and insensitive things they said while they were alive. Like, just because you passed away, it doesn't eliminate all the nastiness that you did while you were on this earth. And as we mentioned on this podcast all the time, we're very much pro keep that same energy. Yes, I do feel bad that he left behind 2 kids. I do. But again, you reap what you sow. A lot of these people that were showing up to debate you in these college tours, we're trying to get you to understand, like, listen, can we at least meet in the middle ground? Okay, you want your guns, but let's find a way to have stricter gun laws. Let's do this. And you were so hell-bent. No, I want my guns. I need my guns. And how ironic that now you lose your life to a gun. And all those people that you were, spreading fake news to, because a lot of these people be talking research up their behind. It really don't be real research. They will question you and question you and question you, but they don't want to come up with real facts. So no, I don't think that Black people should be sit here, and not just specifically Black people, just people of color should be over here crying for this man's death, because it's like, no, while he was on this earth, he was bashing me and my people. He's talking about some DEI, as we mentioned on this podcast several times. Just because companies are a part of DEI doesn't mean that we're just hiring random people of color for jobs. No, you still need merit. You still need that education. For him to be talking about how Ketanji Brown Jackson is unintelligent. Baby, you didn't even graduate from college. Talking about some unintelligent. You don't even got your bachelor's. So it's just like, let us keep the same energy. What you reap, you sow. And if you were so pro guns, baby, you died on that hill. Go ahead.
I'm gonna just keep it short and sweet. I didn't know who this man was until he died. So I would, to say I'm affected, to say that I'm bothered, I won't lie to you and sit here and say, yes, I am. Didn't know him when he died. Now that I know of him, now that he's dead, what did I say earlier? Good morning to you. The birds are chirping. I'm moving moving on up. Right. So I'm just going to say this real quick. Two things can be true at the same time. To reiterate what Shayla said, I don't celebrate people's death. I really do not. But I also don't show sympathy for people who wouldn't show sympathy for me. Right. So I've already seen some of the things that he said when he was alive. Like, it's been showing up now on social media. Like I said before, I never knew who he was. And so when I've seen these things that he said, and I see some people trying to use the excuse that, we shouldn't celebrate someone's death. We definitely shouldn't. I see some people saying he had a wife and kids. So do a lot of innocent victims who get killed every single day from gun violence. And we were told that, no, there should be no gun restrictions, no nothing, because it's the Second Amendment right. Just like you have the freedom to speech, I have the freedom of empathy. And I do not have any empathy in this situation. There was an interview where he did a while ago where he said, not even interview, I think it was his show or something like that. And he was just basically saying that empathy is a weakness. So it's like, I'm respecting his wishes. Am I not? I don't get it. Yeah. It's nothing y'all gonna say gonna really do nothing for me. If you feel bad, feel bad. If you don't feel bad, don't feel bad. You can't convince people to feel something that they don't.
Yeah.
And people talk about he got these kids, he got a wife, he got this, he got that. So do so many people in the world. All the kids who got killed in Uvalde, they all had parents.
Mhm.
And guess what? They're no longer here. But instead of sitting here focusing on that, we were talking about mental health. So guess what? I'm going to chalk up this man's death. The shooter had mental health issues. So then, since we're going to sit there and use that excuse that we've been commonly using, let's talk about it for 2 days and move on.
Yeah. And then the same day there was another shooting in another school. I don't know if it was specifically like a middle or middle school or university, but there was another shooting. And so I also want to talk about this selective outrage, because people pick and choose when the outrage, like the amount of outrage that I saw after Charlie Kirk's death is like you would have thought he was like, I don't even know. I don't like something godly. And it's just like you mentioned, you know how many school shootings we have had. And I feel like I didn't see half of the outrage for them and those kids. But because this is a white man that had some sort of status, right? Like, especially if you were in that circle, is the selective outrage. No,
Right.
There's so many people. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, here's just a few quotes from this man. Like Shayla showed y'all like some perfect examples of things that he said. But this man said, if I see a black pilot, I'm gonna be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. He said George Floyd was a scumbag. He said Martin Luther King was just a man, a very flawed one at that, a mythological anti-racist creation of the 1960s. Then he said the great replacement is not a theory, it's a reality. If I'm dealing with someone in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence or is she there because of affirmative action? So yes, and I will sit here and fall into it. I'm very picky, choosy in this situation too, because I'm going to put the death of other innocent victims over this man. Again, you reap what you sow. If you sat here and you were speaking so loose-lipped and saying whatever you want and you stood strongly behind how you felt, do that. But the same way I didn't agree with you when you were alive is the same way I'm going to feel about you even when you're dead. The same way when we talked about Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I know what you did for the WWE. I know exactly what you did. But that does not negate the fact that you were a racist. And if I didn't like you then, I'm not going to like you when you hit the ground.
Yeah, and I just can't stand two-faced people. And I feel like a lot of people in the right are so two-faced, because you can't sit here. Remember how they always say, oh, it's not the guns, it's the bad people with the guns. It's like, baby, the constant variable is always the gun, always. So it's like you trying to make backflips, gymnastic around the issue. Baby, it's the guns. It's not the good people, the bad people, the this, the that. It is the guns. However way you try to flip, flop, it's far right people getting shot. It's Democrats being shot. It's middle people being shot. It's innocent kids being shot. So it don't even matter. The constant variable is the guns. And as long as you want, for years, ages, decades, we have continued to push the can down the road, and it is still the guns. But anyways, that it makes me so
They
mad.
shot him from 200 yards.
And I want to put an emphasis on this. This is the man, because again, the shooter is still, as of our recording, is still on the loose. And the New York Times said that the FBI released these 2 images of the person of interest. And from what I'm seeing, he seems to be a white man. He has what looks like an American flag. So yes, I do want to see if it is in fact that this is the person that is found to be the suspect, the shooter, what they're going to say. Because again, regardless if Kirk says that everything is not about race, we clearly see that depending on the race of shooters, the way they proceed is very differently. But we'll leave that.
And like, you know, the last time I saw like this dramatic of a reaction, I mean, obviously it was like, we saw different things, was like Luigi. I think that's the last time I saw something as like drastic and like in terms of like social response, in terms of like people like picking a side and so definitively, you know what I'm saying? And I just feel like to reiterate and encompass everything, I am not saying that him dying, because there's gonna be someone who misinterprets everything we have said, which is fine. Misinterpret. That's your brain cells.
Right. I know where my heart lies. So
I know what I said, right? So again, we are not celebrating this man's death.
Mm-mm.
The same attention I paid to him when he was alive is the same attention I'm going to pay to him when he is dead. Well, now that he is dead. And I see these people using this argument about we need less violence in the world, but it's just like, y'all
are the ones that are creating it with this hateful rhetoric and lies and conspiracy theories.
It's like y'all pick and choose though when this notion of less violence should be used. Because when Breonna Taylor was sitting in her sleep in her house and got killed, nobody said nothing. When George Floyd had a knee on his neck, it was never no less violence. When Trayvon Martin was killed, I still see George, I think his name was George Zimmerman. I think that's his name. He's still out here doing whatever. So what have you? And then people talk about oh my God, he was 31 and so young. Baby, the list of victims who have died who were young
maybe the young kids at school that didn't even get to live a life.
Exactly. So it's like we are picking and choosing when to be outraged. And this is what I am saying. You can't sit here and tell people that they need to worry about the human race when you are selective about which humans that you decide to show concern for. That does not make sense.
It's very picky and choosy, and I can't stand it. And like Rebecca said, we said what we said.